A lot of us need to get our heads out of the gutter. We're so prone to living and thinking in survival mode that we don't even notice it sometimes, especially when it comes to matters of the ego and things that trigger it, things that emotionally poke and push at its buttons that keep us locked into this small mode of thinking. And what I'm talking about is when you have conflict with your family, when you have drama within your friends, when you hate your workplace, when you're just in this mode of like trying to survive and get by. You know that there's a difference between living life not to lose and living life to win. Those sound like the same thing on the surface, but they're two entirely different things because one relies on survival mode, one relies on expansion and joy. Okay, so it's easy to just fall back into that old identity when there are energies that you haven't healed yet. They kind of surface as the things that create tension in your life. And during the times that we're so triggered, during the times we're triggered, during the times we are going through it because our ego is on the line, we dial in and lock in and we double down on whatever is triggering us, usually because the ego's like that. It doesn't like to be wrong. It doesn't like to be seen for what it's not. And it can become this spiral. That thing that you are ruminating about, the thing that keeps you up at night, the way that your friend might have talked bad about you behind your back, the way that you are fighting with your family or close friends or whatever tension you have in your life, that's not what you want in life, but you keep feeding it your energy and you keep creating more of it. Because the lack and unwillingness of you to sit down and look at the energies that are causing this to manifest in your life is what is perpetuating it. And the ego wants to be right, it wants to be seen, so we'll cling on to that. But in turn, that energy of needing other people to see you will just create more moments where you're not seen. So it creates more frustration. We live so much of our life in the not wanting of something. Sometimes the way that we show up is because we're just surviving and we don't want to lose. And that is a completely different life than when you want to win and expand and really just live in freedom. Okay, so I'm making this video because I saw this Instagram post that kind of just flipped the way that I was thinking instantly. And it made me realize how much I'm actually living in this small self. Even though I think that I've cut off my old identity, I'm still living in the same thoughts. So this post was it was about this Reddit user comparing the life of a multimillionaire to a billionaire. And this doesn't seem too related, but trust me, it is. He was talking about how as a multimillionaire, someone who is making maybe $2 to $3 million a year, your quality of life day to day with how comfortable you are isn't much different than a billionaire's, say like Jeff Bezos. He was saying how when you have your house paid off, you live in a nice area, you drive a nice car, you get to eat well, you get to travel around, you get to spend time with your family and your loved ones. You basically go out and you don't worry about the price tag of things because money is an overflow essentially, and you just are in peace and in ease. Like you're living in expansion, you're living in freedom because you have the money to take care of yourself. And it's not just the money, it's more so about your options and your freedom. And when it comes down to the currency of life, it's not money, it is time. Time is the greatest currency of life because it's what is limited in our lives. Ideas are endless. Money is virtually endless since it's just a number on the screen now. But what is lacking and what we have finite resources of is time. And he was even saying how if you were a young person and you're a multimillionaire, essentially you're richer than Jeff Bezos because you have more time than him. And okay, I bring this all up because I kind of just entertained the idea of being able to live in that expansion. to live in that abundance, to have the freedom to do whatever you want, to go on vacation and literally do and buy whatever you want because money isn't an issue. That is the freedom and expansion that I want to live for and what I want in life. That to me is winning in life. To me, that is what it looks like to win in life, to literally play to win. And then playing not to lose in life for me is surviving off that job that I hate. Okay? Because you're not technically losing, but you're just not winning either. And again, I'm mentioning all this because it made me think about what I truly want in life, okay? And what I value, what is important to me. I want to have so much freedom and expansion and choice in my life because that is all our birthrights and that is what we are worthy of. And I think about how having that much abundance and being able to provide for my parents to basically pass on joy and peace to other people through the form of abundance, that is what I want to live for. Reading that post and having that afterthought kind of just altered my brain chemistry because in the meantime, I'm also dealing with some sort of small conflict, right? And the thought of freedom in this world and being able to experience life for what it is compared to the small little life worries from my small self, and the trouble in my mind, in my old identity, feels so minuscule to the life that I truly want to live and embody. Because imagine you're fighting with your parents or you're fighting with a loved one and you're wrapped up in it with your ego because you want to be right, you want to be validated, you know you're right? And your energy is just being pulled and siphoned into that dynamic. Meanwhile, there's this whole other timeline that exists over here where you are fully abundant, fully free. You have dissolved all the little things that your ego worries about. And you are abundant. You have options. You are able to pass on experiences and freedom and ease to the people that you love. Instead of fighting with them, instead of resisting them, instead of being in that dog outside, instead of living in survival mode with them in your old timeline. It made me really think like, okay, if I am putting so much energy towards the things my ego knows in this current day, then there's no energy that's available for it to call in a new timeline over here, to call in the life that I truly want. Because what I want is not to be validated. What I want is not to have my ego be seen and be in control. What I truly want is to experience love and freedom in my life. And that to me is enough to melt my problems away, for me to realize that I don't want to put energy into this. And it's not to avoid the situation, because I do think that as a multidimensional being, you got to deal with your conflicts and your issues with other people in your 3D life. Like, you still have to stand up for yourself. You still have to state your truth. You still have to talk it out. But you don't have to keep complaining about it and dwelling on it and perpetuating the issue. Because where your energy goes, your energy flows. So deal with it to the best of your ability, and then find out the underlying energy beneath that issue, beneath the conflicts that keep arising between, whether you're in a relationship or in your family. Usually the issues that you were dealing with in your day-to-day life have energetic currents underneath it that connect back to old beliefs or past beliefs inside of you trying to fall off. So once you do the inner work, leave it alone and move on to your new timeline. There's so much life to live. There's so much energy that you actually have to put towards something that you love. You want to live life in a way that you are wanting to win. You are wanting to experience the most out of your life, right? And that requires shifting from that small, limited self to doing what it takes to get to your highest self. Energy is something that you only have so much of day to day, so you want to be able to allocate it to your best interest. Personally, I don't think I can consciously go back and live in the ego and live to play small anymore, because there's so much on the line in terms of time. because your time here on earth is not forever. When you are able to move your energy from one small limited place to a place that expands and compounds, do it. When you can catch yourself thinking small, being triggered by egoic things, catch yourself and rewire that shit, because you want to be able to anchor in your new self. And that comes with having awareness, having focus, and being able to be mindful when you know you're walking in the ego.